and thank you for checking out my latest video. Today I'm going to talk about the definition of the feminine principle. Get this question a lot. What is the feminine principle? Because I use the word a lot. I say feminine principle and masculine principle, and people say, what is that? And these videos are really about what is the feminine principle. It's about finding where in history and time and space have women had power. What does that look like when we do have power? What does it look like when we define the laws, the rules, the family structures, etc., etc.? So the feminine principle is sort of all of these things, and one of my favorite ways to talk about the feminine principle is to use a story. So today I'm going to use this excellent source. This is a commonly used college anthropology source. It's about the Pygmees, who are a hunter-gatherer tribe today, still alive in Africa. They are some of the oldest people on Earth, some of the oldest humans on Earth, and so they live much the same way they lived before the Ice Age. The reason I like to use tribes is because it really gets to the root. By using this tribe where men and women are equal, what we're going to see is what it takes to make the masculine principle happy, to support the masculine principle and its jobs that men are expected to do in society, and what supports the feminine principle, and in other words, the jobs that women are expected to do in society. Okay, so this is before money, before the central authority, before any of these structures that we, as moderns, live under. Okay, and have been a part of since we were like 5, and have learned about and all this. So they don't have any of those structures, so we can see things a lot clearer by using their lives as examples. So I'm going to tell you a story from this story. This is an excellent source and read. And the story is written by an anthropologist who went and lived with the Pygmies for a while. And so this particular section that I'm going to be talking about is when they're leaving one camp and going to the next. So they're hunter-gatherers, and that means that they migrate, they, move from camp to camp. And the anthropologist is a man, so he gets to go with the men. So they wake up in the morning, the men wake up around dawn, and they do a little gathering, they get a few mushrooms, put them in their pockets, and they're off to the next camp. About midday, they come upon the women, okay, who had left much earlier, all right, and the women are breaking for lunch. They're sitting down, they've stoked up a fire, they're making lunch, and they're feeding their children and themselves. The women have carried everything, okay? They carry everything that these people own, okay, including, bedding and clothing and children and fire, for goodness sakes. They're carrying fire in these wet leaves, okay? So they're carrying everything, any kind of utensils that they own. The women are carrying all these. They woke up far earlier than the men, and about midday, the men catch up to them. They've taken a break. As they're walking through the forest, the women are clapping and singing loudly and chatting to each other, and they're scaring away animals that might, be in the way up ahead, okay? They're doing this to protect their children and protect themselves. So here we go. The men catch up to the women. Hey, women, they don't stop. Why would they? They don't have any packs to carry. They don't have any children to feed. They just keep on going, or living their charmed lives, and on to the next camp. The men get to the next camp very, very much quicker than the women. And the Pygmee man says to the anthropologist, hey, let me take you down and show you this river. This is our treasure is the river. So he takes him down, he shows him the river, and, they hang out there for a while, and he says, oh, let's get back to camp because the women will be showing up soon, right? So later that day, by the time the men get back from the river, the women are just making it to camp. What do? They throw down their bags, they take out their knives, and they start going and chopping their leaves down. Chop, chop, chop. These big leaves, making piles of big leaves that they're going to use for their roofs. The men start doing the same. They start helping the women chop down leaves and chop down saplings, but the women make the homes. So the women jam the saplings into the ground, they make a perimeter. Then they fold over the top of the perimeter, and then they interweave the leaves in between that, and they make huts. Okay? By the end of the day, a rain comes, but everything's done. Everybody's inside their huts, they're safe out of the rain, and the day is over. Now this is a great example of the masculine and the feminine principle at work. Let's go back to the beginning, and we're going to sort of pull out some pieces here. So, first of all, it shows us how the masculine principle burns and how the feminine principle burns, how the energy burns. The masculine principle is a bunch of short bursts of intense energy, okay? They get up later, so they have a shorter time that they went from one camp to another, and they got there faster, okay? Shorter time period, more intense burst of energy. Then they recover. Men's energy is so intense that it can only burn for so long. Then they have a lot of recovery time. This is the masculine principle. It's kind of a charmed life for the masculine principle. It doesn't have so many burdens to carry as the feminine principle does. The feminine principle is the opposite. It wakes up much earlier. It has a much more extended period of time that it has to hold a steady current of energy through a much more extended period of time. So do you see how these two energy formations are quite equal, even though they don't look the same? Okay? So first it shows us the difference sort of in the energy patterns themselves. Second, what does it show us about the feminine principle and what its needs are? Okay? Well, so what we see is that the women, first of all, they had gone previous to leaving camp as well on a little gathering expedition, okay? But they had gathered much more food. So women, as a commonality throughout hunter-gatherer tribes, women bring in 60 to 80% of the food. Men only bring in 40 to 20% of the food. This source tells us that. This college anthropological textbook tells us that women bring in the majority of the food in hunter-gatherer tribes. So women are the great food providers. When they get back to camp that night after the women build the houses, then they feed everybody. Okay? The women are the food providers. The women are the caretakers of the children. The women are the great protector. They clap, they sing loudly. What are they doing? They're chasing the animals away. They're protecting themselves, their children. These are the jobs of the feminine principle. Okay? Now let's ask ourselves, how are both of these principles supported in this example? You can see that the masculine principle is supported by the fact that the women aren't trying to wake up the men early in the morning and say, you come with me and you do the work that I do. No. The women understand that the men sort of have this like charmed ability, They don't have much to carry. They get up, they get their clothes, their weapons, and they're off, and then they get some leisure time to go down and check out the river, okay? The women don't have any of this. They are working all day long for a much longer day, all right? And the men don't try and take the women's resources. The men don't say, oh no, you can't own the homes, right? The women, this is a commonality throughout hunter-gatherer cultures, where the idea is sort of like you own what you work more at, which is why women pretty much own children. Women own homes. In fact, in many Native American cultures, women even own the land. Land was passed down through the female line. These are things that women need to raise children. Men do not need these things, right? If a man can't sleep in his wife's hut, he can sleep in his girlfriend's hut, or his sister's hut, or his mother's hut. Huts are things that women have for raising children. In fact, they were probably a woman's invention for protecting and raising children. These are jobs of the feminine principle. So, what does the masculine principle need to feel supported? It needs freedom. The masculine principle needs freedom in order to be able to have that extra time to spend doing whatever, okay? What does the feminine principle need to feel supported? The feminine principle needs resources to feel supported. Now, how do we do that without putting more on our plate in a culture where the only way to get resources is to go and do extra work outside the work that we're already doing for our family to get money? That is a question for another video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this story. I hope that it helped you to see the masculine principle and the feminine principle, and that you want to check out the Pygmees. Check out, subscribe, and hear more stories. Hit the like if you like it. Leave some comments and talk to me. All right? All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.